Hello, everyone. And I am with um, two incredible human beings. I'm actually uh, in Santa Rosa right now, but we're all in our different spots right now. And so I'd like to welcome Chris Holder, Dr. Chris Holder, and Dr. Jen Riegle. Uh, and they are both leaders in the community in several ways. One of the ways is they have an organization called Integrative Healers Action Network, which has been working closely um, with the fire departments, with the fires that have been happening for the health and well-being of the fire people. And then also have their clinic, Wild Oak Medicine, and do healing work very closely um, with adults and families and children. And I just really wanted to have you on and talk about medicine and about healing and about what real medicine is. And so, welcome. Thank you for coming and being on. My, yeah, thank you. Good to have you. And um, I wanted to open with the Indigenous work prayer from North America. And hi, Wyatt. Good to see you. Um, and so the Indigenous work prayer from North America is Great Mystery, Powers of the Water. I send a voice in prayer. I'm asking for entrance to the gates of knowledge. I am seeking to cross the realms. Spirit of the water, help us to be fluid today, to move easily with this work. We turn to the setting sun in the place between day and night, asking guidance for intuition. We pray for the right doors to open and for the ability to look within and make good medicine from our gifts so that it supports the earth and supports the work and supports the friends and supports the family. I pray that I can grow within this work and be of service to others. Powers of twilight, walk in your mystery and open your gifts that want to be of service today through our work. Thank you for the blessing of work. Thank you for the blessing of gifts. Thank you for the blessing of the earth. And so, of course, I want to talk about the medicine of fire, um, and what the medicine of fire is like. But I would be curious to ask both of you, like, we're in a crazy time, and we've been talking this last week, and um, there's just so much happening right now, and I wanted to talk about like the different forms of medicine and different kinds of medicine, and I just wanted to open it up to, you know, what can we do right now? What can we, where can we be putting our energy at this time? Um, and I was just curious about your thoughts about healing and what we can do at this time around that.
You want to start, Chris?
Um, um, and
Oh, we're having a hard time hearing you, I think.
Yeah, I think that you're,
go ahead, Jen.
yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been really feeling lately, it's about my time and talking to people about, is being present with our local community.
Oh, yeah.
And I think our world can be very big and in really beautiful ways now, in ways that it wasn't previously. It wasn't 50 years ago. And that can also be really challenging. It can be challenging to see everything that's going on in the world and feel the grief of all of the people around the world, because there is something
Yeah.
to grieve every day. Um, and it's hard sometimes to have the majority of our content, of our conversation, of our connection becoming from that distance sometimes, because
Yeah.
we feel the people in front of us. We can support physically the people in front of us. If we invest in community, there's joy there. And so I really believe that as we move through our future times, investing in our community is going to be joy, safety. And I believe in larger community, but I also think shrinking down back sometimes into investing in the people in front of us in our the present moment with those human beings can be
Yeah.
our reprieve is.
Yeah. So, yeah. And one of the things that I've learned is that, community is immunity, right? There's like so much that we can experience if we have each other that we wouldn't be able to experience otherwise, and safety we have that we wouldn't have otherwise. And but that experience of being in community and feeling that connection is like the most important thing. And that we have each other, that we have, we had the talk today, and it was like us, you know, it's about us and how can we take care of us. Um, and so that feels like it's along the same lines.
And there's a very physical, known research um, thing that happens between two individuals called co-regulation. Our heart rate,
Yeah.
really, they entrain to each other when we're in physical proximity of another human being. And that's one of the pieces that we tell people before they go into the disaster zones with us. Sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do when someone is in grief and some shock and when someone is in having a moment that they can't even speak is just be with them, to ground yourself and to be
Yeah.
present. And it actually helps their nervous system to line up with yours and to calm. And it's
Mm.
medicine, just presence.
Yeah, I love that presence. Yeah. Chris, did you want to see if we can how your sound is?
Um, sure. Is it better now like this?
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually holding it, so getting better audio.
Yeah. It's your antenna, the antenna of you, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I think it's important to remember too that time is a funny concept, that we don't experience it in its true reality,
Right.
that we're taught certain concepts of time and it's not really that way. And that all times are times of change. So things are always changing, and that there are ancestors that have come before and given us tools in how to
Yeah.
manage the change. Um, and many of which I've learned from Char and others, um, because some of those tools will last through the changes of time.
Mm.
If that makes sense, because they've got a universal um, knowledge that is not based on time. Whereas, like some of our technologies, our solutions using technology they are embedded in a certain time. There was a time before the phone, a time of phone, a time of internet, a time of
Oh, yeah.
AI. Whereas you want to make sure you're getting teachings and tools that are timeless.
Mhm.
I don't. That was kind of rambly, but I think is
Oh,
that
no, that
clear?
was yeah, that was and I like that idea of timeless time, but also I like, before it's like now, one of the things that Araceli Dominguez told me is that, one of the things we're doing is that the screens were there to teach us about how to begin using our ability to work with the invisible, right? And so there is this gift that is supposed to be a visionary gift and to train us as visionaries. And instead, it's like we're becoming reliant on it instead of using it as a way to become independent of it, you know? And so, Chris, you and I were talking about spirit and, blending medicine or different medicines. And, you're a naturopathic doctor and you also a shamanic practitioner and a medicine person, and uh, in ancient technologies. And I'm curious, I know that you work with some incredible human beings that I've had the privilege to work with in me also, um, who are incredibly gifted in medicines themselves. And I was just wondering, I wanted to enter into a conversation about spirit and about working with spirit in this time, and yeah, and trust.
Yeah, I think, I kind of split it into two ideas of there are tools that spirit developed through people, and then there are tools that are directly from spirit,
Yeah.
but they're both from the same source. So, for example, through spirit, we have supplements, drugs, use of herbs, surgery, technology,
Yeah.
internet, AI as tools that came from that source.
Oh,
But
yeah, tools.
we have to use our judiciousness on how to use that shovel, that bow, that fire. And then there's the tool of going straight to spirit. And those are two different things. I get a lot of students that see me flip from tool to tool really rapidly, and they say, well, how do you know what tool to use? Well, it's the first connection first to tell
Right.
me which tool to use. Does that make sense?
I love that. I love that. And so spirit or creator is telling you.
Yeah, because we have a lot of tools right now. This is a time where we can know what's happening in Uzbekistan, Ukraine, Palestine, California, and
Yeah.
and tie into those medicines, both
Yeah.
the new modern medicines that are being developed everywhere and the old. But not everything's on the internet, not everything's on AI.
Right. Right. And so I would be curious about this idea of like, blending the ancient technologies with the new technologies and yeah. Jen, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree. I think the way which tool and in what time and for what person moves through me is
Mm.
all my connection with spirit
Mm.
and has become a natural part of my practice with people, to just be listening. When I enter into a space with a patient, I'm there listening. I'm listening to them.
Mm.
And so it's easier in those moments of really focused intention and attention to be hearing this is to trust. I just learned over the years to trust if something's coming through me, if I'm
Yeah.
hearing a download of like this tool right now, to just trust and
Mm.
in that work out to trust Great Spirit in that
Yeah.
uh, interaction.
Trust creator. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about listening, and I think there's also just different ways of listening. There's listening with the ears, there's listening with the heart, um,
Mm.
there's listening with our overlay of our own story and interpretation, and then there's a type of listening that's blank, um, that I think you only get to in deep ceremony. Things like vision quest, sun dancing,
Yeah.
sesshin in the Zen tradition,
Mhm.
where you learn it's a more universal listening than listening from the place of Chris, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm really curious. I'm saying hello to Joe and to Kimmy. Hello, you guys. Thanks for joining us. Um, I'm, the podcast is called Sanctuary. Like I've called it Sanctuary, and I see spirit as a sanctuary, like the good from beautiful spirits, right? Um, but I've also been looking at and wondering how can we like access some kind of peace of mind, or what are some of the ways that you are able to, I like what Jen was saying about how we co-regulate, right? So there's like a co-regulation that is happening. Uh, but I'm curious about like what does sanctuary mean to you, and how do you see people being able to like create that? What are some ways you create that for yourself, uh, in your community?
There's a teaching that I just received recently that's really with me. I mean, it's a really beautiful story that is an answer I've learned to a lot of questions, or some of the really potent questions that are asked in the dervish tradition. And
Mm,
and it's this beautiful story of these two brothers, and one decides to follow a dervish path, and kind of an aesthetic path, and goes up to the top of the mountain, and um, he goes up to what we might call his sanctuary, right? We can go into those places that we might consider, at least historically for me, sanctuary has been places where I find deep peace through.
mm,
So he goes up to the top of the mountain, and he starts to dive beautifully into these teachings and become this beautiful Sufi, and he lives up there. And then the other brother is down at the bottom of the mountain. He is working with his father and taking over the family business and working day in and day out, and that's the life he's chosen for himself. And one day the father gets very sick, and the brother who's at the top of the mountain studying and holding that peace is comes down off of the mountain, and he um he has this cloth bag that he hangs over the father when the father is very sick, to give water. And the brother who's down been with the father, he says, how must have mastered such skill being at the top of this mountain, that you can keep water in this cloth bag. Like, that's beautiful. And the brother just nods, like, yes, I worked very hard. This. So they're going in, day out. And one day, this beautiful woman walks through the door into the store. And the brother, who was at the top of the mountain, turns to look at her. And the water just comes out of the bag. And the moral of this story, if you will, is that in the Sufi tradition, in a lot of traditions, I learned this from you too, Shar. I remember an exact moment of this teaching. We go to these places of deep peace, and we collect these lessons so that we can bring them back to the world. And so when you ask what sanctuary is, I think about how I used to hold this as these places of deep peace for me, of deep
mm,
learnings. And the teaching and learning from this story was that we learn these things to bring it into the world. And
mm,
do you think, I asked some of the Sufi teachers that we were with, do you think that we get better at going back and forth, or we get better
mm,
at holding those two things together? We are in the world, but not of the world. We hold them together. And they said, I think we just get better at holding them together. And so I'm kind of reworking my idea of sanctuary. Like, can I find sanctuary in this place that might not be of my choosing, or of my, can I use my internal resources in the relationship that I have with spirit, and knowing that I am up in every moment? And obviously I'm not there. Like, that would be a very high level of
yeah,
achievement.
yeah. I mean, none of us here are.
That's totally the wrong word, the opposite word. Um,
Yeah.
but that's how I'm relating a little bit more of, like, where can I find peace and sanctuary like, at every moment in my life?
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. That's beautiful, Jen. Thank you. And I love the story, the parable. And yeah, that's hi, Dana. I want to say hello to Dana, my platonic metamor. That's beautiful. And the two of you just returned from Turkey, so you have all of these like fresh experiences and from your Sufi community, and yeah, it's really, really powerful. What about you, Chris?
Well, I think of it as there can be two ways of thinking about it, like physical places. So I have my spiritual sanctuaries of places where I go to reconnect and plug in, sun dancing, visioning. There's a lovely retreat center in upstate New York that I go to. Those are physical sanctuaries where I've learned my mental sanctuary that I can take anywhere.
Mm.
Um, because I like what Jen was saying, that there's a piece of it that's uh, peace of mind, knowing that you don't have to know it all. You don't have to do it all. I
Yeah.
think that was a big lesson in my 20s. Every fight was my fight.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we were talking a little bit in the car ride over of just the concept of the samurai.
Mm.
You're a warrior, but you only fight if it's a fight worth dying for, and you fight to the death.
Yeah.
So what you find is that most fights are not your fight. Um, and then also along that line, when you are told something is worth fighting for, you do it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, way more energy now that I know, okay, there's horrible things happening. Is this my fight spirit?
Yeah.
Is this my fight spirit now? But
Oh, that's
sometimes I'm
so
told,
great. I love
support
that.
those fighting this fight in this way. So do
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, but this is not your fight. You know,
That is
know,
so,
know yourself and know your link
yeah.
to spirit so that you know what fight is your fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's warrior work, right? The way of the warrior, and how can I be a warrior, you know, to the things that, in the right places,
Mhm.
you know? And yeah. And, we were also talking a little bit about energy and power and where to put our power and how to direct our power. And I think you had some interesting things to say about that, Chris, like about how not to put our power in the wrong places, which is the warrior work, which is whose fight is this, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, I can have peace, but we're not supposed to, exactly what Jen was saying. It's not about having peace all the time. Our humanity is made up of everything. Um, yeah. And there's so much to heal right now. And you're both healers. You're both incredibly gifted healers, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. I, you know, your patients adore you. Like I get to talk to your and they are just like, yeah, they um, appreciate a job well done. I'll say it that way. um, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about healing and how do we step into healing? I mean, I appreciated what you were saying, Jen, about, it's every moment. Um, but what do we need to do to heal? How can we heal?
You know what
Well,
I
start with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jen.
No, I actually that was the first thought on my mind, and the second was been s- I've been finding myself talking a lot with people lately and noticing in myself too. How can we sit in discomfort? How can we sit with the
Mm,
um, because it is uncomfortable to work on ourselves, to be faced with the things in ourselves that are less than
mm,
right? And part of that, part of what has allowed me to continue work on myself is sitting with you and enough teachers that I can be in that discomfort now without needing
Mm.
the support that I used to need for that, right? I can be with the discomfort of seeing like, ooh, I'm not sure I like what I'm doing there. Like I'm not sure
Mm.
if that is the way that my life. That's very uncomfortable.
Mm.
And I think it's part of whether we're doing that with ourselves or we're doing that with a greater community or group, or how we're reacting in uh, any size community that we have, that first piece of being able to sit back, reflect, and sit the discomfort before we make a move, I think is step number one.
Mm.
And sometimes we need a teacher for that to start, right? I
Yeah.
did. I needed someone to show me how to do that.
Mm.
And I think that's how we start. We stop, we reflect, we sit with the discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah. And stopping isn't that popular right now.
Oh no. I mean you yeah, I'm no expert. You heard my
Oh,
ask, everyone's like "Rick needs to slow down." I'm like, I hear you. I hear you. I think you're right. Yes.
I think that'd be a great idea. Anytime, any day now.
Uh, yeah. But I
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hmm. What are your thoughts, Chris? Anything in addition to start with yourself?
Yeah, and and then that listening piece of with being able to hear when spirit's saying do X, Y, and Z, and to get out of the way because we think our ego thinks, oh, it should be done this way, my way. Why don't I have this? Why don't I have her? Why don't I have money?
Right.
And if we're not listening, it, you just get a lesson.
Mhm.
And so I think when I'm confused about what to do, ceremony, cut out all the distractions, cut out
Yeah.
all the dopamine. You know, those deep ceremonies are states of low dopamine, no food, no water, no talking,
Yeah.
no moving, um, uh, no more deceiving yourself.
Yeah.
Then you can hear
Yeah.
when the chit chat of this goes away.
Yeah. Boy, can you hear a lot of things.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah. So if you can't hear, if you're in the audience and you're like, I don't hear spirit's voice, then a deeper ceremony is needed, and probably one that leads to discomfort by taking away the dopamine.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's simple though, just get off social media, get off the screens,
Yeah.
because these things are designed to portray a whole different agenda. That's very distracting and enticing to the brain. It's been designed to do that. But you can blink and your life is gone. And what did I do? Facebook.
Right. Yeah. You can blink and your life is gone.
Mhm,
And then, and then,
mhm.
yeah. I have this thing where I try to only use the media or my phone for connection or my creativity. I'm not successful, but I do try, to do that. Um, and or for healing, right? For meditations or for some type of healing. But I think that, we have all been in ceremony together. And, and when I say ceremony, it means an intentional prayer, like we're in an intentional prayer in some way. Usually in the wilderness. I mean, since our culture is right, there's an indigeneity. It's an indigenous culture, and and you know what we all need is to be close to our mother, and our mother is the earth, and we need to be close to her, and we need to learn from her. And it's interesting what she's doing right now. She is, you know, I think some people say in, labor pains because something's got to change and we have to give birth to a new way. And so it's less than pleasant right now. Um, and, and how do we work through these things? How do we move with her? How do we, you know, bring something good, something that will turn us in a more positive, beneficial direction? Um, that's how we do it, is by what you were saying, Chris, is, to, well, what both of you were saying, to be in community, but also to learn how to listen to spirit, to learn how to listen to, and how to, this idea of interconnectedness, to remember that we're like, when you're in the woods listening for 4 days and 4 nights without food or water, you hear things like everything is cleaned out. Your eyes, your ears, everything is cleaned out. And what's also important is what Jen was talking about, that there's a community to hold you, right? And to welcome you back after your 4 days and 4 nights, right? Um,
And if you're
and
lucky enough,
so, what's that, Jen?
a teacher, someone to
Yeah.
love you and to guide you, but to also hold your feet to the fire.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, I am blessed. I am blessed in both directions, in all the directions. So I'm so grateful and honored. And yeah, I wanted to shift to you guys, you work with the fire and you work with, healing people from the fire in addition to the fire itself. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about, your lessons from the fire. If you could share some, or learnings from the fire, or gifts from the fire that you've gathered. And these are there's wildfires, in California, and you're helping, with a medical tent on the ground. And it's terribly hard work. I mean, difficult work.
Beautiful work, though. It's every single disaster response we go to. I am renewed in my awe of how people come together for other people that they don't know most of the time, how it feels to be in that and to be a part of
Mm,
how people are coming together in community in such an incredible way. I mean, you never see people help out their neighbors the way is when a disaster happens in our neighborhoods. It's beautiful to see, and I got to experience that as a child. I have a very personal history with fire. When
mm,
house burned down when I was a kid, what I took from that more than the trauma of that
mm.
experience was the way that our community came together. People gave what they didn't have,
Oh, Jen.
gave us the shirts off their backs so that we could have what we needed because we didn't have anything in those moments. And they came together for us in a big way. And so when the fires started happening here, there was something that just told me, just go, gather your
Mm,
store. We patted ourselves down, made sure we were safe, our home was taken care of, that we were resourced enough, and we just went to the shelters and the base camps, and that's how the whole thing started. And so it's a gift. It's a huge gift to
mm,
be able to have the realization over and over again how powerful love is and how much more
mm.
powerful love is than uh,
Mm, mm. Yeah.
huge personal gift in my life every time I respond.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that word respond. And fire is fast,
Mhm.
so you have to, there it's like you have to respond with ability. You have to, and that you're able to do it like from this place of like almost like deep love for your own history or deep love for that child self, or
Which
for that.
hit me in a beautiful way. It was the biggest gift that I never saw coming.
Yeah.
And it's true when fire has these beautiful qualities of, yeah, it moves really fast. And one of the gifts of working in the midst of ongoing fire is the learned ability to stay very calm and with your head straight on your shoulders and
Hmm.
very quick decisions. And then we're pairing that with caring for human beings aren't trauma, right? And so it's can we wear all of those hats at once? Can we stay in our thinking mind and stay quick on our feet if we need to? Can we care for not only the individuals that we're serving, but also
Mm.
leaders of our organizations? Can we make sure that all of the people that are there with us are being safe, are well resourced? And so it's a practice and a gift in staying quick on our feet while
Mm.
staying low enough to be with another human being who's in it because they just lost their house or because they just saw someone they just saw someone die or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Mm. Chris, do you want to share anything about your learnings from the fire? I want to
Uh,
say hello to Hadil too. Hi, Hadil. I'm glad you're here. Mm.
Many years ago, in one of my last visions, I saw a fire come from the east in my Hachoka and was told to dig into the earth, let the fire go by, but that the rebuilding would be a main part of your work.
Mm.
And I was still in an interesting ego state of, no, my work is going to be a doctor, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Um, and many years went by, but the second the fire hit, I remembered and was able to really connect in and listen very clearly as to what needed to be done when. And we were able to do a lot because we weren't wasting energy. Um,
Mm.
I've also been told too that, the fire's not the enemy. The fire's mother's fever.
Mm.
So things are out of balance. So we have fire. And we're out of balance. We have fever. Um, and so I don't
Yeah.
fight the fire. And sometimes I can sometimes see the illness in some of our firefighters
Mm.
because of we're fighting rather than working with.
Mm. Working with the fire instead of fighting the fire. Oh my God.
So when those firefighters fail in LA to fight the fire, they're failures at fighting.
Right.
And they feel that psychological damage from that. And, you can talk to them with logic because nobody and no fire crew can fight a fire of that size with 100-mile-per-hour winds. Nobody's going to win
Jesus.
that,
Yeah.
no
No
matter how
one.
much water they have.
Yeah.
They know that logically, but the problem is they've emotionally and structurally been set up to see it as the enemy and failure.
Mm.
And so that's been some of the conversations I've been having with those firefighters, trying to deconstruct what it means to be a firefighter.
Mm.
Um,
That's interesting because in our tradition, we have fire tenders.
Right.
We have we have fire tenders, and we respect the fire. We
Start the fire.
we yeah, yeah. We start right. We talk to the wood. We thank the wood. We thank their stones. There's all of this respect, honor, and respect and regard that is put into the building of those fires. And some of those fires have to last a long time in total containment. Uh, and through that honor and respect that happens, that's fucking brilliant. I love that, Chris.
And
I
for
love it.
humans, fire's our first tool. And it's our first tool that's gotten out of hand. And
Yeah.
I also there's iterations of fire, radiation, weapons, explosives,
Mhm.
firearms. They're just other modifications of fire that can fight a war with a firearm, or you can harvest a deer.
Yeah.
They're tools.
And I think a lot of times we forget in the midst of this mindset of firefighting and stopping all fires that fire is an absolutely necessary part of our ecosystem. It's required for regeneration of the earth. That the earth
Yeah.
needs fire. And I was really lucky to grow up with two wildland firefighter parents who taught me a very deep respect and love, actually, of what fire can do. Because I heard them talking about it because they were wildland firefighters. I heard them with this great reverence and respect for what it could do and what they were
Mm.
using it to do. Because and in wildland fire, when you work for the Forest Service, you're doing a lot of prescribed burns and you're thinking about um, what does the ecosystem here need? How can we, within this container, within um, the set of structures that sometimes literally physical structures that we've put up, how can we still allow the natural ecosystem to have what it needs? It needs this fire. So I would
Yeah.
hear talking about that and thinking about that and planning how can we give the earth what it needs right now in this
Mm.
and still keep it safe for the human beings around. And so it's not it's not even in the context of forest fire, not bad. It's just, um, it's become a challenge because of how we've built our world up, and
Right.
we're working with that now.
I think there's also, thank you, Jen. I think there's also something important about, when I'm thinking about firefighting and fire tending, when I'm thinking about those two things, and I'm thinking about like prescribed burns, right? Well, prescription. Uh, I think about healing, but I'm also thinking about like passion. Like fire is also, passion. We always say, oh, your fire, this is your fire, or the fire that takes no wood, um, is your passion. It's supposed to be the fire that takes no wood. Right. But I think that there's also something like when we think about the human passion and the fires and how they're both out of control. Like we don't have any restraint. We don't have any ability to just be you know, like no more, or stop, or don't do that, or, so it's just interesting to think about. And Francis Weller talks about that in his new book, in his latest book, just like there is something about that ability to do the controlled burn, you know, to have choice about it instead of the fires burning out of control that are so destructive and that are just leaving carnage everywhere. And I think about, one of the things I think about is these women, these girls. They were girls, but are now women, and uh, just how they've been destroyed like in a wildfire, in a fire that's out of control. Um, and how, um, the compassion, like there's two kinds of passion. There's compassion and passion, and there's fire. Um, and I think that both of those things, compassion and passion, are both lit from within, right? Um, but I think that there's something about this, what you're talking about the destructiveness of it by in human hands.
Well, it's funny when you're talking, it's making me think something I've never really kind of put together, which is I have seen fire take that personal, selfish passion in people and flip it into passion for connection and community, passion
Mm.
in other people, passion for the whole, passion for the greater, so many times. And when I think about that on a disaster scale, that's definitely true. The selfish turning into the selfless, or not
Oh
self,
yeah.
unity oriented. But I also think about that even with sitting around a fire.
Yeah.
It's harder to be selfish when we're sitting around a fire. There's something about fire that takes that burning passion that can get out of control in the selfish way of things and
Mhm.
flip it into a passion for community and connection and
Mhm.
helping other people and being with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. And also just like that passion can flip into like the fire can flip into violence, right? Like, I know that it's just like, oh, there's healthy passion, and then there's just like it can become violent and it can destroy the whole fucking forest in one, you know. Um, I'm having a memory right now. I was driving through a wildfire, Idaho, in a canyon, in one of the canyons close to Kamiah in Idaho, and I remember you're not supposed to stop, of course, and of course I stopped because I was just absolutely mesmerized by what was happening. And across the river, there was a tree, and it just burst from within. Like the tree had heated up to the point where it just flashed and it birthed from, and it was one of the most intense experiences, and to watch it burn from the inside, right? Um, and so it's just that like it can be incredibly destructive and it can be warming. And like you said, and we used to Chris's point, we used to, you know, be around a hearth or a fire, and now we're around these screens. I mean, we're no longer around a fire. And, so, you know, our energy, I don't know how you said it, Chris. Was it
But
power or
because
energy?
well, it's the new fire,
Yeah.
but you got to be careful with fire. You can get burned,
Yeah.
but you can also get warm.
Hmm.
So we can meet around this fire of the screen, but we can get burned by it too.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, are there any closing words, you guys? I think it would be nice if you have any closing words around maybe guidance systems or how to stay warm and not destroy things. No, I don't know. But just any ideas or tools that you might have for folks in this time as medicine people in this world.
I say I'm all about pausing right now and present
Mm,
and 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 in those pauses we can find a great deal of peace if we're present, and we can find if we can lead in peace right now in our hearts, if we can get our hearts even sometimes to that place of peace and lead in love because of that peace in our hearts. I think that's what the world needs right now.
yeah.
I think the world needs for us to be able to be in peace, um and to share that experience, not the experience of, it's so easy to go into neuroticism right now,
Yeah.
you know? And if
Yeah.
we keep ourselves tethered and grounded, and I'm just reflecting on what does that take in my life? It takes the practices that I've built. It takes the teachers in my life. It takes the community that I've built,
Mm.
remembering through those practices because I'm constantly having to remember what that's like. But I'm not afraid anymore because I know where to get that ground. I know that I come back to the practices. I know I come back to my teachers. I know I can come back to the earth. And just like that, I can remember. And so just building that trust in whatever your deep practice is or whoever that teacher is for you, if you come back to it enough times, you can trust it. You can
Yeah.
count on it being there for you.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I like
Thank you,
what you're
Jen.
saying.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a time. There's a lot of energy moving, a lot of fires
Yeah.
moving around. Um, for judging anything, listen. Um, I like if you're called into warriorship right now, the art of war is to actually know your enemy better, get closer to them, understand why they're doing what they're
Mm.
doing. And you'll either have empathy for them or you'll have a better ability to fight.
Mm.
And then only fight the fight that you've been told to do.
Yeah. Fight the good fight.
Mhm.
Yeah. Fight the good fight. Well, thank you both so much for coming on Sanctuary, and you are a sanctuary for me. And thank you for the privilege and opportunity to talk with you this evening. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And have a sweet Friday and a sweet weekend.